Greetings, Dr. Cho and classmates slash colleagues. This is Frank Ward, and I am going to summarize and respond to chapter 13 of our textbook, which was written by Maxine Greene. It was called Curriculum and Consciousness. And I'm adding a little subhead here called The Case for Relevancy. And we pretty much know the 3 R's of education. It's not reading, writing, arithmetic anymore. No. Relationships, getting to know our students. Rigor, pushing them to do their best, going in depth. All right, and then relevancy, making things relevant to the learner's world. And it seems like Maxine Greene really focuses on using the relevancy from students' lives and backgrounds to actively engage the learner, which seems commonplace today, or should be, but might not be, and I'll get to that at the end on my own little comments here. So Greene writes and starts off with saying that back in the day, there was kind of a discrepancy between some people arguing, like Dewey and George Counts, arguing that, hey, we need to take the learner's prior knowledge, their environmental factors into account. But she was finding that some curriculum failed to take that background knowledge and prior knowledge and how, the environment in which students were raised into account. Writing, rarely does curriculum signify possibility for the learner as an existing person, mainly concerned with making sense of his own life world. So they don't really, she was arguing that, hey, we're not really taking that into account. We need to. All right. Greene went on to talk about like your conscious learner and unconscious. Conscious mind, unconscious, which really is this. Conscious this is the new material. We're trying to get you to actively think about it. But no matter what we present to the learner, they come with own experiences. They come with prior background that they've gained from their childhood experiences and environment. The way that people learn to talk, they see something, they hear the sounds, that kind of becomes who they are. Not just vocabulary and stuff, but values and that kind of thing. So Greene focused on a couple areas and making some analogies to help understand this. And one that she argued was literary criticism, saying that sometimes people want to not take their own personal experiences into literature when they read it, and they're trying to figure out, and not even take into account the writer's background. They want to treat the writing as an entity of itself. But that doesn't really work, because people have their own backgrounds. They have their own thoughts and opinions and experiences. The writer has a background that absolutely has an impact on the meaning of the text. There is that context that we have to bring into it. So Greene wrote, the reader, using his imagination, must move within his own subjectivity and break the common sense world he normally takes for granted, meaning we have to use that relevancy. We have to take that into account to get the learner to consciously take in new material and think about it and be critical thinkers. Without that, it's lost. And then you start to get the eyes gazing over. We've probably all seen it. All right. Another analogy that Greene used was that of a map or a legend. And really saying that it's like this. We know what a certain symbol means. All right. If we didn't know that, we could never work with a map. But when we go to a new place, we have to take our prior knowledge, what we've learned growing up about compasses and north, south, east, west, about street signs and that kind of thing, and make sense of it in a new land, which is represented on that map. If we don't have those experiences of learning those legends and those symbols, we can't possibly then think and learn about a new environment. And I thought that was very powerful. Very good way to break it down for the reader. She also did use another analogy, is a very long one, with a text that she did a very good job of summarizing and trying to make it work. But if you hadn't read it, I just found it a little more difficult to quickly summarize here. So I'm going to focus on these two. Thinking of it as when we read a piece of text, taking the writer and our own experiences and background into account to help make sense of things in this new text that we're reading. And also as the map and legend with the symbols, as has been discussed. Yeah. In the end, it seems like Dewey, George Counts, and Miss Green have all kind of are pushing for the same thing, which is take our students into account, take their experiences and build on them, move students past where they were into this new world and think critically. These days with the Common Core and state testing, and this is where I know Dr. Cho, you said before that we need to start thinking as theorists. I feel like we agree with a lot of these prior theorists, which might be part of trying to argue a point. I actually look forward to the end of the semester when we start reading the theories with the Common Core and everything else, because I have some opinions on that. Some of it's good, but some is we focus so much on state testing and a standardized test and these high stakes tests that may not be relevant to a student's life. So yeah, they're going to use the skills and everything, and we're using relevancy to build those skills. But then in the end, in the real world, are we really comparing and contrasting the author's purpose of two texts? Maybe not. We might be. And I think that's an important point to be able to do, but to write a standard essay in 80 minutes and read two texts, it's just... So anyway, I'm going off track here and I need to focus back on. So that's kind of where I would say, I really wish we would take some of these prior theorists back into account and really focus on making all parts of education relevant for our students so we can use the unconscious knowledge they have consciously. That will make them active learners. That will make students, I believe, want to grasp new content and think beyond the world they have to problem solve. So that is pretty much it for chapter 16. I do know that this weekend is Texas Tech in Texas, so horns down, and I'm going to end with Wreck 'em Tech. All right, thank you, and look forward to seeing your comments on the board.